chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has revealed that INEC's result viewing portal experienced several attacks from hackers around the world, some of them from Asia, during the gubernatorial elections in Ekiti and Osun states. The commission has, however, warned that the days of manipulation of results were over, having blocked all avenues for such irregularities. Meanwhile, reactions have continued to trail the disclosure by the INEC chairman with misfeelings from information and communications technology experts, with some fortunate as a political gimmick. Joining us now from our Abuja studio to discuss the hacking disclosure by INEC is Oluwole Uzzi, former INEC Director of Voter Education and Legal Services. Welcome to the program, Mr. Uzzi. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me again.
Okay, the great anxiety among Nigerians is that if indeed hackers as far away as Asia try to hack into INEC results portal in Ekiti and Osun, how much damage could this pose to the 2023 elections? Because if they tried it before, they will probably try it again. What risks do we run?
Well, thank you very much. Any activity that is put online is susceptible to being hacked. I'm not an expert, but all the experts agree that once you go online, once there's a portal, once there's any activity online, then it's susceptible to being hacked. This is not the first time that an INEC server or portal has been attempted to hack it. Recall that during the 2015 elections, there were attempts they did in fact try to bring down the INEC website. So it's not the first time. The most important thing and the assurance that the Commission can give is that it's aware that they run a risk and to take proactive measures to try to stem the risk and the likelihood of successful hacking of its portal. So I think there's general consensus agreement that once you're online, you're exposed.
Right. What do you make of the allegations of gimmickry, and how will this affect credibility of the elections that were conducted at the time, the Ekiti and Osun elections and the general elections next year? Because it does appear that a door has been blown wide open for people to make claims against the validity of elections.
I think that stems from a lack of understanding of the process. Now, the result viewing portal is to enhance the transparency of that process. Along with the online uploading of results, the results, according to law, still have to be taken manually to the collation centers. And basically, there's an audit trail. So if there is any issue with the online, hacking of the online, they're not going to change the results. The worst that can happen is that the results that you see, you might be prevented from seeing some of those results, or they might bring down the portal. That's, to my understanding, is the worst they can do. Don't forget that the results are manually written and then scanned or photographed or photocopied and uploaded. So it's not really a result that is it's PDF basically. So that's what you actually see, the actual results. And that result is signed by all the party agents. It's going to be taken to the next level of collation. And the uploaded result is used to verify and authenticate that is taken manually. So there are at least a dual method of transmitting results. There's still the manual, there's still the online results. And if the hacking is successful, what it means is that they will look for other ways. There are certain protocols that the Commission has. I'm not even privy to all of them, but I'm aware that as soon as they can be migrated, the portal will back up as soon as they can, if there's any success, as soon as they can take care of that glitch. But you still have the other manually written ones that are taken to every level of collation.
But the problem is, you see, a lot of people fear that the manual one can be tampered with. And that's always the issue, and that's why you want this, double level of authentication about uploading it quickly, immediately to a server and the likes. The question is, what is the firewall, that INEC is building around its websites, which houses also the portal? And, I have gone through that website with a couple of experts, tech experts. I can tell you majorly I've done a lot in tech.
Yes.
And it's below par. Below par. I can tell you that for free.
Well, Rufai, I don't know whether I'll agree with that, because I'm also aware that in developing these portals, there are certain protocols and certain firewalls that have been put in place. I am not an ICT expert. I know that the experts, not just in-house, but they've leveraged on available expertise outside of the commission to ensure safety. There's certain safety protocols that are there. Agreed. There is no website, there's no portal, there's no online activity that is 100% certain. Even the Pentagon is not 100% certain. We've had issues and stories of people, 15-year-old kids, even successfully hacking into some of the most secure websites and portals all over the world. Some of the most secure, even in the most advanced of technologically advanced countries. So it's not impossible. But I don't think I will agree that it's below par. That might be the opinion of those experts. But the experts working with INEC have a different opinion. And they've tested it. I am aware they've simulated scenarios whereby they try to ask other people to try to get in there. And then whatever shortcomings there are, those ones have been addressed in the past. I'm aware of that.
Well, INEC is saying that in the Ekiti and Osun cases that it has reported, that INEC was able to stay one step ahead of the hackers, even the ones from all the way in Asia, by creating dummy portals and all of that. But Ekiti and Osun, these were by-elections, off-cycle elections. In a general election, do you think that INEC will be able to speak with the same level of confidence about being able to set up dummy portals with IREV and circumventing the threat of hackers? Because the hackers are likely to be more active in the 2023 elections, considering the stakes that, how high the stakes are. Yes, more or less.
Yes, the stakes are indeed very high, but the protocols that have been developed, the issues have been looked at, and I think they're quite satisfied that what they put in place could possibly withstand not just off-cycle elections, 1-2 elections, but nationwide elections. I think it's the issue of bandwidth, it's the issue of spectrum. But the issue really is that if you can successfully defend your portal against attacks at those levels, there's no reason why on a wider scale across the 36 states you cannot do so. There's some concern, and rightly so, there should be some concern. And I spoke to officials of the Commission, technical and administrative officials of the Commission, and look, this is very worrisome. Say, don't worry, they are not ready to disclose all. Naturally, it's a security issue, so they're not ready to disclose every measure they have put in place, not even to people like us who are close to the Commission or who at one time or another occupied positions in the Commission. But I think they will reassure the general public, and it's quite likely that they will invite, as we go forward towards the 2023 elections, they are going to invite more experts to even see how any loophole can actually be plugged and any challenge can actually be addressed. It's a thing of great concern. And I think INEC was forthcoming when he said, look, this thing happened, so you're not going to deny it. They're the ones who put it up front and say, look, this thing is there. And if, as Rufai says, that there are other experts who think that the portals can easily be compromised, I'm sure the Commission will welcome ideas from any source that it can get to say, look, let us see how we can plug whatever loopholes and address whatever challenges that this portal may have, for all the patriotic reason that, look, nobody wants that website to be brought down. Nobody wants the portal to be compromised. That will possibly compromise the transparency and integrity of the process.
Right, you've gone some way to answering my next question, which is that Professor Yakubu tried to strike a reassuring tone with that disclosure and just couched it as sort of a challenge or a crisis averted. However, the issue of credibility, like I mentioned earlier, still lingers. Exactly what should INEC do? You're doing part of the work here, trying to reassure, talking about how they will liaise with the experts and what have you. But can you not see the plethora of cases, complaints, protests of all kinds that will be, INEC will be subjected to at this point?
Well, that is part of the reality that the Commission will have to deal with. It's a reality that the Commission cannot run away from. But the only thing it can do is to ensure and test its processes, test them to see how robust those processes are, and try at all possible times to be at least one step, 2 steps ahead of those who are trying to hack or who, for certain mischief or for whatever reason, will try and subvert that process. I know that there are complaints. For example, one of the candidates, I think he has even gone to court, one of the candidates in one of those off-cycle elections thought that was a vindication of sorts. But he did not give particulars how that was a vindication. He did not say how the results themselves were compromised. He did not attack the physical results. He did not even attack the results uploaded onto the site. So I really don't know. And don't forget that these results are, the building blocks of these results are the polling unit results. Polling it, you start from polling it, you go to the next level of collation, all the way up to where you make the declaration. So if there's a fault, if you can fault it, look, let the public know, let the Commission know, let the public know. I don't want to discuss too much about his own particular case because I'm aware that I think that promised and they're still in the tribunal over that matter. So I'm hoping that he will bring evidence. But from the pleadings, I don't see the particulars and the correlation between the disclosure by the INEC chairman and what he has pleaded in the case in the tribunal, or what he has put into public domain. So when you see that, that's when we can now begin to interrogate it properly and say, what is the correlation? Is this correct? So allegations will always be made. That's for sure. It comes with the territory. It comes with the terrain. We'll expect that. But it's not sufficient to just make broad, wide sweeping allegations. Give us particulars so that any reasonable person, not just the Commission, but independent bystanders will look at it and say, well, you have a point here, or there's something here, or INEC, what are you doing about this? There's a loophole here, or there's a loophole there. The fact that you will say you will not deploy technology because you are susceptible to being hacked. No, that's not so at all. You continue to use technology, and as long as you continue to use technology, you look for ways to build firewalls, build protective protocols, and to protect the integrity and sanctity of what you are putting on there online.
Okay, so a little bit more technical now. There's actually the dispute on the residency of data. Where is the data going to be resident in this cloud architecture? Because so when people upload it, you can actually make the data resident here or anywhere else. Where is the data going to be resident? And also, where are also different file locations in the incident of a hack? Because this is not the first time INEC website. It's been hacked so many times. In fact, there was a story that came out, I think it was in 2020, when people were even complaining that a website built with 1.5 billion is so easy to hack. 1.5 billion naira, so easy to hack, so easy to get into. So what are those provisions, for instance?
Well, I quite honestly don't know where it's going to be resident. And if I knew, I certainly would not say it on national TV. But I honestly do not know. I'm not in a position to answer that question very honestly. But I know that technical people had told us, and I'll have to rely on their words because they have people who have been tested, people who have been recognized both domestically and internationally. I'm aware that our staff have been sent to other countries to assist other West African countries and East African countries with their own IT needs. I'm very aware of that. That speaks to their competency. But then again, nobody is saying, I'm an expert, I know it all kind of a thing. And I also know that is why not only the resident experts, but they continue to engage people from outside of the commission. I'm not aware of the cost of that website. I'm not aware that any website was built with 1.5 billion naira. What I'm aware is that for a long time, INEC has a website, and it continues to upgrade, and it continues to develop that website. It's organic. New things are always added. New security measures are always introduced and put in place. I don't know it all, and I don't pretend to know. But I can only speak with the assurance that those I've spoken to, and I am aware of so many other attempts. Quite a number of it is in public domain already, and none has really been successful to pull down the website or pull down any portal for any length of time. Each time they have done that, within minutes, these things have been back up. I think that speaks to how robust the system. But I know that once you do that, they migrate to other ones. I don't know how many such areas they can migrate to. I don't know, but I know that from the experience of the past, that will take towards the tendency towards the future. But definitely what you have said, I'm sure that the technical people will watch and will listen to this, and we'll take this back to them and say, look, these are the allegations. Each time that has been done, they've more or less rebuffed it and put us through just some of the things they have done to protect those websites. But not anyone is foolproof 100%. Nobody can tell you that.
Well, Mr. Uzzi, I get your point. But how much challenge do we face with regard to insider staff vulnerability? Because I assume, yes, we say it's technology, you can stay in Asia and compromise, but how about insider staff vulnerability? Do we have a challenge in that regard? Knowing that in Nigeria, whether you're talking about crude oil theft or attempt to compromise elections, you are also talking about collusion, connivance, and disruptions internally.
Well, look, Ruben, I actually take that to be a rhetorical question. You're a Nigerian like I am, and you can never, not just Nigeria, but I think everywhere else, you can never, ever rule out completely insider involvement in attempts to subvert, in attempts to compromise. That can never, ever be ruled out, almost in any human endeavor. So it's there. But what I know for sure, for example, is that when in previous occasions that there are more than one admin, and several people have to compromise for you to really break in. Several people, because it does not reside with only one person. At different times, there are different people, including the INEC chairman, who have some kind of access. There are certain protocols that several people have to go in. So, and usually, including the chairman, the chief electoral commissioner, is also part of that protocol. As I said, it's a security measure. I don't know it all, but I know that different people will have to compromise, and the likelihood of that, of 3, 4, 5 people of the highest integrity compromising, one maybe even 2, but those will not be able to do sufficient damage as to completely compromise the system. I don't think they can.
Right, I have this question for you, which is interesting. And this viewer wants to know what INEC's strategy is to prevent underage voting in the northern states in the 2023 elections, and suggests that Nigeria's borders with Niger, Chad, Cameroon, etc. should remain closed before, during, and after the elections until results are announced. Now, that's obviously an immigration issue, but we all know that INEC does lead that, security task force liaising with all our security agencies. What's INEC doing in this regard? Because it's also been announced, which was positive from INEC, that your automated biometric identification system has been able to weed out double and multiple registrants to vote. What's been done about underage voters?
Well, I think the issue of underage voting is maybe it's more pervasive in certain areas, but it's an issue that cuts across regardless of regions of the country. It may be prevalent in some areas more than others, but it's there. And the issue of borders, security of borders, should involve all nations around our borders, not just the northern, the eastern flanks and the western flanks as well. So Cameroon on the eastern flank and Republic of Benin in the western flank, as well as Niger, Chad in our northern flanks. We should be concerned about those. And the immigration is part of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. They've always worked closely with the Commission. I recall just before the 2019 elections, they seized a lot of voters' cards from people who were not Nigerians and so were not entitled to them. They seized those cards and handed them over to the Commission. So those things are there. Underage voting, as far as I'm aware, the ABs and the AFIs cannot detect underage voting. But certain business rules, I think the Commission issued a statement yesterday, and it did not just talk about multiple registrants, but people who were not qualified to be registered had actually come up during the CVR that just ended in, I think, 30th or 31st of July. That they saw that, and they voted us, and previously, 1.12 million out of 2.3 or 2.4 million who had registered in the, I think, the first quarter or the first 2 quarters of the year were found out not to be eligible. Either they had done multiple or double registration, or instead of doing the transfer, they'd gone ahead to register. That's a very high percentage. Almost, it's about 47, 48% of those. That's really, really, really high. So it shows that things are being done. INEC will continue to work with the security agencies. They are even closer collaboration now than ever before. And each of those security agencies has its own role, including the paramilitary and such agencies as the immigration. So I think part of the business rules is that you physically and manually also go through the registrants. And there are certain people who are clearly underage, and if they are, this is part of the process to weed those people. There are many borderline cases, and it's a lot more difficult looking at certain people and say, are they 17? Are they 19? It's often difficult, and I don't know what the Commission is going to do about that one, but I think it's safer if there's evidence of their birth, because part of the registration process is that the registration officer is entitled to ask you for some proof of identity or come with an adult who certifies that I am the parent or I'm aware that this young person is over the age of 18 and therefore eligible. Once you are a Nigerian, you're over the age of 18, you are eligible and nobody should prevent you from registering. So that's the balance you have to strike between the nationality and age of those people who are entitled to be on the register.
Two things. Another possible place, and I don't know maybe if INEC is looking at it, that can be attacked, is the register itself, the voters register. Since it's on the network, if a hacker probably gets access to it, disrupts the network, then it can be problematic for authentication with BVAS. How protected is that? You know, how secure is the firewall around that process, or the cybersecurity architecture around that? And secondly, for what we want to do now, albeit a small scale, and I must repeat, a certain Wafula Chibukati with his campus process in Kenya has been able to do something like that, modulate it, but it's for a smaller sample size, 14 million thereabout, not a cogent one compared to our 200 million. Are there going to be sort of like conversations around, how did he go through it, how did he do it, and the Kenya electoral IBEDC, as it's called, are there going to be conversations across board? Because he's the only person in recent time across the African continent that I know has done it, but I must repeat, albeit with a very small sample size compared to what we'll be doing with the 4 million voters.
I like it that you put it in context, because you can't compare 14 million to almost 90 million. In terms of volume, ours is much, much larger, and by far larger than most regional election total number of registered voters in several regions put together. So it's not an easy task as well. We're amongst the top 3, top 4 democracies in terms of volume. It's a challenge. But I'm aware that over the years, INEC has sent monitors or observers to elections right across the country and right the continent and beyond. And Kenya has been of particular interest. Recall that Kenya for a while has been using this biometric register and tried the issue of voting and everything else. They even lost the head, the director of their ICT at one stage. I think it was believed murdered, and many people believe that it had a lot to do with his work, working with the Kenyan Electoral and Boundary Commission. So lessons have been learned from Kenya, albeit, as you said, the sample size of the Kenyan one is nowhere near that of Nigeria. The Kenyans have also come here, and several other countries have come to also learn from us. So there's that exchange between electoral bodies in that regards, and it's been a learning curve. There's a learning process between each and every national election body. A delegation from INEC was at the Kenyan elections, and of particular interest was these issues. Now, the register, we have, by the 2022, one of the innovations of the 2022 Electoral Act was to ensure that INEC keeps a register of its voters, not just in electronic format. What I think the Act says in national headquarters, although, as you said, this thing should be in cloud or in other secure places. It's not physical like that. But there are also regional formations. Each state has its own register. Each local government has its own register. I expect that each and every one of these will have different places, and even the consolidated register will also be kept safely, not necessarily in just one location. And it goes without saying that secure firewalls are in place. How secure they are, and it's a thing for the experts to say. But I think a conversation should be undertaken between ICT experts outside, especially with professional bodies. And several of the top-ranking technical people also belong to these professional bodies. And the former director, for example, was awarded a fellowship of his own institution. They do rub minds. They meet at conferences. I don't know how deep the conversations are as to security, but I know that security is of top priority. Unfortunately, we wasted too much time passing the electoral bill, and too much time was wasted with, should there be transmission? Should there not be electronic transmission? Should we get the permission of the NCC, Communications Commission, to do that? Too much time was wasted on that. That's why we lost focus about more important things like the security issues, like how robust our national infrastructure is for transmission of results, for going fully digital with our elections, and that we should now catch up with all that time wasted. I'm sure that's why this conversation is taking place, and a lot more should and will take place. Getting things like maybe at the next cycle of elections, maybe if this works out very well, we'll go to the next stage, because ICT is incremental. First of all, we started with the biometric registration of voters. We started from that. Of course, it's now by modern method, not just fingerprints now, but facial recognition. So there have been building blocks. We started with the register. You now had the register. Then you got the smart card. You got the PVC, the smart card, with a chip built into it. Then you had smart card reader. Then you had the Z pad. Then that's quickly phased, and now you have the BVAS. So by the next cycle, I'm sure we'll have another technological device and other innovations that will come. But that will depend on how successful we'll keep going, not in a revolutionary, probably in an evolutionary manner. And lessons will be learned. Lessons that are learned will be used and going to the next stage. But security-wise, that has always been of top priority.
Let me ask you, is INEC ready? Do you think INEC can be trusted? Because if you look at it in the last week, INEC has been telling us, reporting portals were hacked into in Ekiti and Osun. INEC is also saying, there were over 1 million double registrants in the 2021 exercise who have been had to, shut out of the system. Is INEC telling us that, we are vulnerable? If anything happens in 2023, don't blame us, because this tragedy was forewarned. Do you think that INEC is trying to protect itself by coming up early enough as it prepares with excuses?
Well, you use the word excuses. I'll choose a different adjective to describe that, actually. But fortunately, experts, communication experts like you will tell us that, look, you have a duty to be upfront with information. You do have that duty, and it's even a statutory duty, because when you consider the Freedom of Information Act, every institution has the duty to be upfront. There's certain types of information you should always be upfront about. I guess the commission could have kept quiet and swept everything under the carpet. And then maybe a smart investigative journalist will come and give an expose. INEC servers hacked. And the first thing that the experts will say, well, why didn't you let the world know? Why did you keep this kind of information to your chest? You're not transparent. So rather than saying you're making excuses for possible failure, I think it's the other way. I think this commendation should go to the commission. I'm no longer part of that, but I think commendation should go to the commission. I wish more agencies would be more upfront with information. And when you're upfront with information, Rufai, for example, talked about experts condemning the websites. So you know about these things upfront, and you can take proactive measures to arrest possible infractions and possible any possible whatever challenges there are in your system. And that is the importance. Information is key to everything. I think governance these days, good governance demands that you should be upfront with your citizens about information and the likely issues that you are likely to face and the challenges, and so that people will know. So it's not an excuse. On the contrary, it's to say that, look, these are there, but we will. And if you listen very carefully to the chairman's statement, he also told you the measures they are taking to forestall any future recurrence and to forestall any permanent or serious damage to it. So let us not just take part of that statement and take it out of context. Let us take a global view or a holistic view of what was actually said by the INEC, no less a person than the INEC chairman himself. Not only did they identify the challenge, but he also told you about the solutions and the possible solutions that he had taken, corrective measures they have already taken. And I'm sure he did not disclose all the measures that have been taken, but at least let us know that these are some of the things. So it's a reassuring thing to say, look, these challenges are there. Acknowledge the challenges and state the possible solutions to those challenges. If there are better solutions out there, perhaps the INEC should take it on board as well. So no, they are not excuses for potential failure.
Well, what's your take on the call by some civil society organizations and human rights activists, Femi Falana, for President Muhammadu Buhari to comply with the Constitution and consult Council of State before nominating INEC recs? Some of those he has nominated have been described as being partisan and having questionable character. So what's your take on this breach of procedure?
Well, first of all, I'm not so sure whether there's actually a breach of procedure. I may be wrong, but my recollection is that the nomination of the INEC chairman and members of the commission. Who are the members of the commission? The constitution says is the chairman and the 12 national commissioners. Now, those constitute the board of the commission. They constitute the commission. For you to do that, he has to consult with the Council of State. Consultation, not approval, but the president has to consult with the Council of State, and that is the requirement. If he has not done that for the case of any national commissioner or for any chairman, I'm not aware. I'm aware that the Council of States met and they were duly consulted and gave their blessings to the nomination of national commissioners and the chairman of the commission. Now, resident electoral commissioners, that's a different take. I may be mistaken, as I said, but I don't think that the Council of States has to approve all resident electoral commissioners. So there's a difference between national commissioners and resident electoral commissioners. But if that is the case, if it requires the Council of States to meet, I think it's where he does not consult, then there's a deviation from the provisions of the Constitution. If there's any office that needs the consultation and approval of the Council of States, actually consultation, because it's the Senate that approves. Because after consultation with the Council of States, he now nominates and sends the list to the Senate, which will now approve or disapprove. There are conditions for membership and for being a commissioner in INEC, and it protects the integrity of the process that those people should be non-partisan, because after the amendment to the Constitution, it requires non-partisan people, people of integrity, not just people of integrity, but they must be non-partisan. They must not be members of any political party at the time of the appointment. If that has not been complied with, that will be wrong and will be unconstitutional.
Let me come in before Rufai asks you. Femi Falana, SAN, has said, in terms of the appointment of those electoral commissioners, the relevant section of the Constitution is Section 154. And that since 2015, the president had complied with it. So why is it different this time? And he also quoted the ruling in Legal Aid and Others versus Attorney General of the Federation. The ruling by the court, saying that Section 287 of the 1999 Constitution also applies, requiring the president to consult and not to impose on the electoral body persons with partisan persuasion. Those are the two big issues there. But Rufai, over to you.
All right, real quickly. So one of the feedback as regards, your portal system and everything is to make elections accountable, you must have an incident reportage portal. Maybe you can integrate this with your existing portals or create a new portal in such a way that people can take pictures of infractions and incidents, send it to the portal, and the portal also has an embedded, architecture of timestamp verification to authenticate the video once it's been sent. It will also help, for the legal processing and for your general reportage of the election process and, making your assumptions per polling unit. So that's one of the feedbacks, people that looked at all your architecture said. So what do you say about that? Or is this a feedback you'll take as we wrap up?
Well, as I'm no longer there, I certainly will convey what has been said to the commission. But the thing is that the truth is that there is already a system in place. There's the INEC Citizens Contact Center. And it's linked to the situation room on election day or any time of any electoral activity. And very often people do send videos there, people do send reports there, and once those reports are sent, action is taken on those things. If you're privileged to be in the situation room, there's one person in every local government area, both physically on the ground and also in the situation room, monitoring what is being said. There are about more than 15, 20 people manning the telephone lines, manning the sites for the INEC Citizens Contact Center, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media handles as well. So that system is there. Whether you need a dedicated portal for that, it's something the Commission should discuss with the relevant people. But there are feedback and report mechanisms already in place. Whether they're good enough, whether it's varied enough, it's subject of another discussion.
Thank you very much, Oluwole Uzzi, for joining us on the morning show. Thank you very much.